Hello, I'm Kaylee Wiltfong, and I'll be showing you about my Weebly website. This is the home screen. This page is basically a little bit about me, so it includes pictures of my family, some of the most important people in my life, a little bio about me, my favorite Bible verse, which is, "Let all that you do be done in love," which I think can be used in all aspects of life, especially with teaching. Some photos with my friends, family, and things that I love, volleyball. The next one is my why, which the main purpose is that I want my students to know they are loved, they are wanted, and unique in their own way. I don't want them to change who they are when they step foot in my classroom. And my purpose is to teach, to build relationships with students where I can positively impact them in some way, whether if it's small, big, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just letting my students know that they're loved, and maybe that's how I can positively impact them. A few of my favorite things, and then down here is a contact me form, which will be used in my professional career for students, parents, anybody to contact me directly. And so it doesn't get lost in my email, it goes directly to a form, and I'll be checking it daily to make sure I can stay on top of those things. So before I move on to the next four little sections, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the purpose of my website. So basically, this website was used for a digital portfolio for me. And as one of my goals is to create a digital portfolio for my students, this is a great example that I could come back to. Because I feel if you don't model it as a teacher, you can't expect your students to do it. So this is a great resource I can use. This is also a great resource that I can use within my professional career to organize things for all my classrooms. So instead of up here having reflections, first year goals, all these can be my classroom tabs. And then parents can get on here, click on their classroom tab. It can have the class calendar. It can have the activities we're doing. It can show pictures of stuff that students are doing. It can show their actual projects that they've completed. And this is also something that I can immediately show my administration, when they ask me, "So what are you doing in class?" I can be like, "Well, here it is. Everything on my website. This is what we've been doing in the last week." This website will be updated very regularly as I want to keep my website alive and active. And just like I want my students to create a portfolio, I want to create my own portfolio so I can share and reflect and analyze my work as I go through my professional career. So this next one is reflections. Reflections has been a big part of this class, but also is something that I'm a huge takeaway from this class. So we did week by week reflections over various topics. Some were just over the reading we read from The Innovator's Mindset by George Couros. Some were specific topics like SAMR model, the TPAC model, all those different things. So every blog post has text and it has some sort of media, whether it's a picture, a video, to support the text. And I gained so much from this page because I hadn't reflected a lot on a lot of my learning before this class. And I'm so glad I did because I realized that it took my learning to a much deeper level. And this is exactly why I want to create reflection into my life daily, for my professional career, for my students. I want them to be able to reflect on what went well, what went bad, set some goals. I want myself to do that too because I constantly have to be asking the question, what is best for my students? And how can I become a better teacher for my students? So we scroll back to the top here. We have first year goals. And like I said, I kind of already shared with you one of my first year goals, but goal number one is that I want to establish an effective way to communicate with students, parents, guardians by a classroom calendar. I believe that communication is key. It needs to be solid from day one. And I will believe that forever and ever. Because if there's cracks on day one, it's going to be hard to continue to build trust with your students, parents, and guardians. It's just so important to communicate, and there's nothing wrong with over communicating. And so it's just so powerful to let students know ahead of time, this is exactly what we're going to be doing in class so they can prepare. Students can, or parents can be like, this is what you're doing in class, so what are you learning about? Now they know exactly. They also know if there's big projects coming up so they can maybe help support their student. That's kind of the why behind this goal. But I'm going to attack this goal by creating a class calendar on Google Calendar and embedding it on Google Classroom. Also embedding it onto my Weebly website so anybody can access it digitally. Students will get a hand copy of it at the beginning of the month. And parents and guardians can also get a printed copy if they would like, but they will just have to contact me. So students can have access right away for each month to see what they're going to do. And here's a link on how to make it public for parents. And then the two things that I talk about in innovative mindset is empathy and observant. I know students have lives outside of school, and I want them to be in a time to complete tasks with plenty of time. And observant is just being aware that they have lives outside of school too, and just helping them as much as I can. Today's classroom characteristics are voice and choice. So voice is just allowing students to voice their concerns ahead of time for me. Choice is to also let them be like, hey, is there another option that we could do maybe? Or choosing to not procrastinate on an upcoming due date and attacking it, basically taking ownership in their learning. Technology tools, I will use Google Calendar, Weebly website, and Google Classroom. My next goal is I will create a digital portfolio for students to track their progress and reflect, which is what I talked about. I think this will be important because I think it will help students to take ownership and responsibility for their learning. They will get to see their growth visually, and they get the choice to continue to improve or stump their growth and stay stagnant. And so I think this is just a great way where we can also build relationships, because I can have one-on-one individual meetings with students after so much time to look at their portfolio. Have I figured out how I want to exactly do this? No, but I kind of have an idea of, I saw somebody else using a Google website for students to create their portfolio on. So I will definitely have to figure out more how to do that. I don't know how or what will be added on the portfolio, but I just think it's going to be a great way for students to look at their growth, reflect, and just be able to have a conversation with me about, okay, this is things that went well in the unit. These are things that I still need to work on, and how will I improve in those areas? So really constantly focusing on the positive aspects, not the negative aspects. This can also be a great way if we have student-led conferences for students to say, Mom, Dad, here's my work. Here's what I've grown in. Here's what I need to improve in. Here are goals that I've set. So I think this could also be a great way to implement student-led portfolios. Innovative mindset, I plan on it hits creator and reflector because I've never done this before, so I have to create my own version and allowing my students to reflect and myself to reflect. Classroom characteristics embody self-assessment, time for reflection, and the technology tools that I'll be using is Google Classroom and Google Sites. So the next ePortfolio is pretty empty. The 2 pages that are filled are Professional Learning Network, which includes my professional social media accounts on Twitter and Instagram, and then also my philosophy and education. And so I believe that teachers need to provide innovative ways for students to explore and show their learning using technology. And I think it's the best for my students because it can enhance their learning so much. I know that I have a big task on my hand as a future teacher, but if I don't teach my students how to use technology, I feel like I'm failing them because technology has infatuated this world. And if they don't know how to use it, I feel like I'm failing them for their futures. And then second, it's essential for my students because I don't want technology to be a time filler in my classroom. I want it to be integrated so they know this is the purpose of the using of technology. I want to use technology in transformative ways, like using Desmos for an assignment rather than just paper pencil. Another one is I have to model it myself. I have to show them my blog. I have to show them my digital portfolio and how I reflect because I don't want my students to do something that I'm not doing myself. And again, it comes back to what is best for my students? Integrated technology. And so if I'm not integrating technology myself, then I shouldn't expect my students to integrate technology. And I believe we are all learners. There's always ways that I can grow with technology. There's always going to be resources that come out that are new, improved, and I have to continue to learn on all of those resources and figure out, okay, what resources best fits with this class this year. And I'm going to master that for that year and go on and on and on. So again, I just believe that technology can enhance and create many opportunities for students to explore and create. It is what's best for my students. And lastly, my final page is my digital toolbox. So this is basically all the things that I learned throughout this year. We learned how to code. Collaborative learning is blank right now, but I plan to fill that in as I grow my professionally. Digital repositories is we learned G Suite, we used Google Forms, we created a YouTube playlist. Social bookmarking, we use Digo to bookmark all of our great sites that we use. Prezi, Adobe Spark, which those are both presentation tools that I used. We went to digital assessments, which we found ways that it can be used for summative assessments. It can be used for formative assessments and check-ins with our students. So there's like Edpuzzle, Nearpod, quizzes, and so on. Digital storytelling, which was us being able to create a story using stop motion, paper, flip. There was also Adobe Spark. I used digital storytelling for. Presentation tools included Prezi, Adobe Spark, a few things like slide enhancers, like Slides to Go, Slides Carnival, Nearpod was an example, Pear Deck is an example, and then screencasting and virtual field trips. So basically, to wrap it all up, the digital toolbox section will be definitely used in my future career as a teacher in many different ways. And it'll be figuring out which one of those tools will be best for my students within a year. And then the following year, it may be something else. And so I'm grateful for this website, and I plan to continue growing in it in my professional career.